The UV Report, brought to you by Savings and Loans Credit Union. Your credit union for life.
Today's UV reading was moderate throughout the day, peaking at 11 and 1.
Soon.
Hello, gorgeous.
Do everything a woman should avoid, but I doubt I'll take much notice.
Good guys, bad guys, coming soon to Win. Tonight on Win, Lois and Clark, 8:30, Heartbreak and Anger on the air. Then all the antics of the footy show.
Rioting and looting on the streets of Port Moresby as the PNG government moves into damage control mode. Politicians unite to farewell Harry Holgate, and 11 people injured after a spectacular cycling crash overnight. Good evening, I'm Tom Payne. More riots and looting have broken out in Papua New Guinea during another day of mass protest over the Bougainville mercenary affair. In other developments, Australian special negotiators joined crisis talks in Port Moresby, and there was growing speculation that the mercenary force may have already abandoned its controversial mission.
This was what protesters had promised and police had feared. Thousands poured into the Port Moresby streets in what would become another day of violence and open revolt. By far the biggest crowd again formed outside the army barracks. Supporters of sacked military chief Jerry Singarock demanding he be reinstated and Prime Minister Chan resign. Within minutes it was out of control. Police desperately outnumbered as the crowd ran wild. Gunshots fired above heads, rocks, bottles and iron bars fired in return. Tear gas was fired too, effective for just a short while. Wave after wave of looters swept into stores as shop owners tried to protect themselves and stock.
We're looking for opportunity.
This was a running brawl that showed no sign of being put down. It wasn't until soldiers appeared that any form of temporary peace was restored. More gunshots and tear gas, the officers calling for calm and the crowd to break up. Eventually they did back off. An uneasy peace settled over the streets, but no one was moving on. This groundswell appears to be growing as more and more locals join the protest. Authorities fearful it can only get worse. Around the city, it was the same. Spot rioting and looting broke out as this political, military and social uprising reaches new levels of danger and uncertainty. This as Foreign Affairs Chief Philip Flood and top-level Australian diplomats met Sir Julius to find a way out of the crisis.
Just get a quick word on your hopes for the purpose of...
There was growing confusion over the country's contract with the mercenaries. An anonymous soldier in Singapore on his way home to South Africa claiming it was over.
The contract's terminated. It's easy as that. Because of both sides, it's better for both sides.
The disorder here has prompted Foreign Affairs to issue a warning to all Australians in and travelling to PNG to take extreme care.
More than 600 people turned out to pay their last respects to former Tasmanian Premier Harry Holgate. Politicians united in tribute to their colleague who lost his battle with cancer on Sunday.
This morning's turnout was testament to the popularity of the man affectionately dubbed Headline Harry. The state funeral brought together the most unlikely of allies. Attendance by those from all walks of life, signifying the vast number of lives he touched.
Harry of home and family. Harry the leader, the statesman. Harry the parliamentarian, the politician. Harry honoured by investiture as an officer in the Order of Australia. Harry the vigorous debater, the man of integrity and unfailing courtesy, the person of concern about issues of the environment and the quality of life.
He came to the premiership at a time when the passions of the dams debate were raging with the full force of the Franklin River itself.
He may have been Premier for only a short time, but in his own words, better to be Premier for a day than not to have been Premier at all.
You didn't see Harry Holgate wallowing in self-pity or regret. He seemed simply to pick himself up, get on with life.
He lived and he died with strength and courage. With his honesty over the past few months, he allowed his family and friends to deal with his impending death with love and dignity.
We will grieve not, but rather find strength in what remains behind.
I am proud to have shared Harry Holgate's life, his style and dignity. His love of life will live in our memories.
Dad loved and cherished life, and I love and cherish Dad.
Love is passion, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude.
To Roz and his family, our thoughts are with you.
Nicole Morrow, Win News.
A former Tasmanian ATSIC commissioner at the centre of a travel riots row has lashed out at his critics. But Lucas Maynard is under fire once again tonight after today's release of new travel details.
ATSIC today released revised figures of money spent by their commissioners on domestic travel during 1994-95. It puts the spending of Tasmania's former commissioner Lucas Maynard at almost $71,000, $2,000 more than first reported 2 days ago and $15,000 more than former chair Lois O'Donoghue. Only incorporating travel to board meetings and travel within Tasmania, the figures reveal Lucas Maynard claimed for 74 days of travel allowance for board meetings, when on average there are only 30 days of board meetings every year. Defending himself today, the former commissioner rejects he's rorting the system, saying the department is one of the most accountable.
Without the approval, you can't book the flight. It's got to be done by the relevant person in that department that books that flight for you. For argument's sake, the national travel would have to be done from central office.
However, it's believed in reality the money is approved after the travel.
We highlighted what appeared to have been a considerable abuse in the Aboriginal Legal Service, that whilst there are auditing provisions, I think there's always room for further investigation.
Senator Abetz is also questioning $15,000 Mr Maynard spent on travel within Tasmania in 1995, saying it seems too high for one of the smallest zones. Tony Chambers, Win News.
Just 3 years into it, the state government is poised to axe its decade of growth strategy. The Premier has confirmed a new strategic plan is being developed, although he's refused to write off the existing economic blueprint as a failure.
Launched by then Premier Ray Groom, the decade of growth promised jobs and investment. But 3 years on, Tasmania's decline continues. Only yesterday, Boral shelved plans for $120 million of investment, and now the $1.2 billion pulp mill project is foundering.
It was based on the resource-based industries of logging and mining, which anyone who looked at international commodity markets could tell you was going to be doomed.
Publicly, the government isn't ready to write off its failed economic blueprint.
I wouldn't rule anything in or out at this stage, except to say that we've been doing a lot of work.
But Tony Rundle concedes the state needs a new direction, ordering Tasmania Development and Resources to conduct a strategic analysis of our key industries.
Those plans are in a very advanced stage of formulation.
Tonight, Tony Rundle is in Canberra for tomorrow's Premier's Conference, and unlike past years, this time Tasmania's banking on a funding increase rather than cuts. The Premier is hopeful of $20 million extra through changes to state grants and wants a sizable chunk of proceeds from the sale of Tasrail. Gary Magnuson with News.
Rescuers now fear the worst for the 5 people on board a yacht which is lost off North Queensland, somewhere in the region of Cyclone Justin. A large search mission today found life jackets and other debris, but so far no sign of the crew.
There seems little hope the Queen Charlotte is still afloat. There's been no word from the 14-metre schooner and its crew of 5. An RAAF Orion, however, has found wreckage.
They saw 3 life jackets there, as well as some floating debris.
The search site is off the far North Queensland coast near the Solomon Islands. A cargo ship, the Stolt Camellia, picked up the debris.
We pick up 3 life jackets. We have not seen any people.
2 of the Charlotte's jackets were tied to a distress beacon. There were 12 vests on board. The ones recovered were for light coastal use, the rest for deep-sea sailing. This has given rescuers some hope the crew is alive.
Well, they've got overwhelmed in the cyclone. Whether the crew managed to get off to a life raft remains to be seen.
praying hard, the parents of the only woman on board, 18-year-old Cordelia Bradley from Brisbane.
She loved sailing, she really, and nothing, we sort of tried to talk her into not going, but she was determined.
But with every hour, hope is proving difficult to hold on to.
I'm looking forward to Katie coming home. Hopefully we can sail together somewhere.
An RAAF Orion will night search the area. It will be joined by the HMAS Melbourne and the cargo ship.
Concern today after the death of another tourist on the state's roads. Despite the launch of a new campaign aimed at visiting drivers, there's criticism it's not enough.
A 29-year-old English tourist was killed in yesterday's horrific crash on the east coast. The woman was a passenger in a hire car which lost control on the Tasman highway north of Triabunna. Also critically injured 2 other English tourists, both in their 20s. It brings the number of fatalities on the state's roads to 8. Alarmingly, 5 of those killed have been interstate or overseas visitors. Tourism Tasmania says there's no evidence of negative effects on the state's visitor numbers. The Department of Transport hopes a new campaign using brochures detailing rest stops for visitors will combat driver fatigue.
The brochures are going to be distributed by all of the car rental agencies that we've contacted, and in addition they're going to be distributed on the Spirit of Tasmania.
There are criticisms.
We're pleased that they're bringing out this brochure on fatigue, but we don't believe it goes far enough.
The RACT wants more done to inform tourists, detailed advice about difficult areas of road and the deceptive length of popular routes.
More information on the type of roads and what conditions that they're likely to encounter when in Tasmania.
The road safety brochures will be distributed in the next month. The department to develop further initiatives with rental car companies. Anne Cordiner, Win News.
In the news ahead, Australia flying high in the area of passenger care.
Sudden death in the air, unexpectedly, causes more deaths than air crashes.
7:30 tonight, a scandal that could bring down a hero.
Super seduction or lust for loan.
Superman's blood is in the water. And start a war.
I stand for what is right. My armies will destroy you.
Lois and Clark, tonight 7:30 on Win.
The more I see you, the more I want you. Somehow this feeling just grows and grows. With every sigh, I become more mad about you, more lost without you. And so it goes. I know the only one for me can only be you. The more I see you, the more I see you. As years go by.
Bird's Eye flavoured chips are so delicious, seasoned and crispy on the outside and hot and fluffy on the inside. And now that they're also available in sour cream and chives and mild salsa, no wonder there's none left for me.
Go on, Mum.
World-class cycling action will be staged at the Launceston Silverdome from Sunday the 16th to Saturday the 22nd of March, when Australia's world and Olympic stars clash in the 1997 Australian Track Cycling Championships. Great action, world-class cyclists and world-class facilities. Commencing 6 p.m. on weekends and 6:30 p.m. weekdays. 7 sensational days of racing. Adults $8, age pensioners and students $4. The 1997 Australian Track Cycling Championships. Be there.
The Launceston City Council says it will not abandon plans for a hotel development at Kings Park. Labor and the Greens have opposed the $10 million project.
The Launceston City Council says it's stunned and confused by last night's parliamentary motion.
I've said consistently there is a process. We will continue with that. The Land Use Review Panel has it in their province now. We're making arrangements to accommodate the hearing here at the Town Hall, as a matter of fact, because they want more space. We're doing everything we can to make sure the process is adhered to.
Opponents say the future of the project is now less likely.
The agenda now is for state government to move legislation to protect public land from irresponsible council decisions.
The council is disappointed by the lack of consultation from opposing state members of Parliament.
Not one of the Labor Party or the Greens have taken the trouble to come to council and talk to us about the true facts about it.
However, the Hands Off Kings Park group claims this latest development means the public will be more aware of the facts.
This is a flawed proposal. It's not going to be of great benefit to the community.
Peter Gilligan, Win News.
Tasmania Police have unveiled the latest weapon in their ongoing road safety campaign. The Don't Push It message targeting drivers to be plastered across the back of buses on busy routes statewide. Launching the initiative, Assistant Police Commissioner Lupo Prinz says it reinforces their speeding and drink driving campaign. Despite mounting political opposition, Premier Tony Rundle will seek federal government support to set up a permanent US naval base in Tasmania. Criticism centres on fears Tasmania will become a slave to the United States.
The proposal to establish a permanent US naval base in Hobart and replace Christchurch as the base for America's Antarctic operations originated from Denison MP Michael Hodgman, but so far it's been met with criticism from the Labor opposition and the Greens, both labelling the suggestion as ludicrous.
It's one of Michael Hodgman's more ridiculous claims and schemes, and it undermines Tasmania's clean green image.
Premier Tony Rundle is taking the plan seriously, despite the fact that America rejected a proposal from Darwin to establish a base there. He'll be seeking Prime Minister John Howard's support at the Premier's conference tomorrow.
We will certainly produce an offer document telling them what skills are available in Hobart. We've got plenty of water there, as you can see, the magnificent Kitty Hawk. There's room for another 11 of those.
Opponents say Tasmania will become a nuclear target and see an increase in the sex industry, but for some the economics are too great.
I like to see things in Tasmania rather than sort of have everything sort of removed out of our state.
For a start, we're too far south, only areas of interest for the United States. We're better off setting up a naval base in Darwin.
Tony Chambers, Win News.
In the United States, there's increasing pressure on airlines to follow an Australian initiative in passenger safety.
A Qantas flight into London was one of few planes in the world carrying a defibrillator, a machine to jumpstart the heart when Winnie McEwen suffered a heart attack. Luckily for her, Flight Service Director Peter Engler had been trained to use it.
2 years on, she's up to 11 stone, she's alive and well. We've actually just celebrated her 2nd anniversary up in Birmingham.
Only now, 5 years after Qantas started carrying the equipment, which has saved more than half a dozen lives, a few American airlines are following.
If you divert an aircraft from cruise altitude, it takes...
Today in California, Qantas told its success story to the American College of Cardiology.
Cardiac arrest in the air, sudden death in the air, unexpectedly, causes more deaths than air crashes.
When Qantas first started, it paid over $10,000 for each machine, but now they're much smaller and much cheaper, just $3,000. And that's why so many airlines are now following Qantas's lead. With an estimated 1 million people in the air at any one time around the world, there are plenty of chances of heart attacks. The success of the Australian experience is now forcing other airlines to train their staff too, or face being labelled an airline that doesn't care.
On the stock market, the All Ordinaries has gained 6.1. Our dollar is up a little against the greenback and yen, but down on sterling. Sport now with Cameron and spills and thrills at the National Cycling Championships camp.
Oh, yeah, there sure were, Tom. We'll cross live to Mark Thomas at the Launceston Silverdome after the break. Also tonight, Julie Kent dives into the top job in the Tasmanian Olympic Council.
It's very, very gratifying, and it's certainly going to be a challenge.
The country town where police are accused of being a law unto themselves.
The rapes have been going on for over 6 years.
Police are trying to cover this up.
Plus, how to complain about shoddy goods and service and still get results.
She got her money back.
That's next.
Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, I want to take your daughter's hands off. Your daughter's very lovely. You've got lovely hands.
You don't have to suffer from indigestion or heartburn, because Chewy Quickies gives you quick relief with the delicious peppermint flavour.
Daughter's hand in marriage.
Mr. Thomas, I want to get my hands on your daughter.
Get fast relief. Get Quickies.
The hottest thing this summer is the sizzling deals at Chrysler Jeep dealers during their summer festival. What others call options, they call standard. Like the Jeep Cherokee Classic with standard air, auto transmission and CD player for only $39,990. Now that's a hot deal. Or hot-footed in for the Grand Cherokee Laredo with standard air, twin airbags and auto transmission for a very cool $49,990. Now that's a deal.
Well, I'm not just a bunny, I'm a fresh egg bunny with an Easter wonderland of taste and savings from Rolf Voss, plus smashing Easter price cuts like these.
24-pack Pepsi 7-Up canned soft drink, $9.99. Wondersoft 9 for 8 toilet rolls, $3.97. 550-gram Kellogg's cornflakes, $2.97. 2-litre Tassie Quench cordial, $2.25. 1,250ml Schweppes soft drinks, $1.17. Blue Ribbon champagne ham, $10.99 a kilo. Tasty pork leg roast, $4.95 a kilo. And bananas, just $1.69 a kilo.
Happy Easter from Rolf Voss, the fresh food people with smashing Easter price cuts.
Autobarn? Yes, we've got everything. Spare parts? Yes.
Grey.
Yes. Phillips, all the big names? Yes, yes.
Black?
Yes. Can you fit this? Yes. Anywhere. Home, office?
Yes.
Yes.
So I can bring it back?
Yes, of course. Yes. Yes. How's that?
Yeah.
Will these fit? Yes.
I've never seen so many things for cars. If you've got a car, the only other thing you'll need is...
Good evening. Sensation last night at the National Track Cycling Championships. A terrible crash during the under-19 women's 20k point score. 5 riders and an official were taken to hospital with a range of injuries.
A cyclist nightmare, a multiple rider crash, 11 young women unseated in the under-19 20-kilometre point score. The crash occurred when 2 cyclists collided, bringing everyone else down in a domino effect. The worst of the injured, Tasmanian official Jessie Wilson, who sustained a broken nose and cheekbone and related facial lacerations. Wilson was in hospital today. 5 riders also needed hospitalisation. Victorian Lucinda Saunders overnight under observation for facial injuries. Her bike today mute testimony to the forces unleashed. Third down last night, Victorian Geraldine Denham, who suffered splinter punctures and a significant proportion of skin off her forearm.
Tried to go up as far as I could, but I just clipped the wheel of the South Australian and ran over her.
Mark Thomas, Win News.
And Mark Thomas is live at the Launceston Silverdome. Hopefully not as eventful as last night, Mark.
Hopefully not, Cam, but it certainly makes you appreciate the courage of all the riders here at the Australian Track Cycling Championships. Tonight, the final of the women's 3,000-metre pursuit. The star and new Australian record holder Lucy Tyler-Sharman up against Victorian Karen Barrow. In the men's Olympic sprint, Tasmanians Tim O'Shannessy, Jason Cahoon and Nathan Clark in action. Tyler-Sharman again the favourite for the women's 10k scratch race and the junior men's 30k point score. 4 Tasmanians on the track, Daniel Cutting, Jade Clark, Ben Kettle and Daniel Fisher. Up ahead, a great night's cycling, Cam.
Thanks, Mark. That's Mark Thomas at the Launceston Silverdome. To cricket, and if the Australians are to make a clean sweep of the 3-test series against